The CV-19 crisis is causing aftershocks all throughout the world economy. Everything is at risk now, especially the food supply. Yes, the government can print bailout money, but they can't print food. Food takes time and the production follows a tight schedule. But CV-19 interfered with that schedule. And now there are gaps in the supply chain that will soon show up as food shortages at your local grocery store. Are you prepared? What if you can't buy any food for a couple of weeks? Well, don't panic. Just go to preparedpill78.com right now, and you can save $100 off a 4-week food supply of delicious, nutritious food from My Patriot Supply. They're the top-rated company I personally use and trust for my emergency food. You'll breathe easy when you receive your 4-week kit. It gives you enough meals to get you through the coming food shortage nightmare, and the food tastes like home cooking too. So don't delay. Go to preparewithredpill78.com right now. Get your order today. Tomorrow might be too late. Once again, that's preparewithredpill78.com. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for sticking around, and welcome back to Friday Night Livestream. Joining me tonight, as I stated earlier, my good friend and real-life X-Man, John DeSouza. John, how are you tonight, my friend?
I am great, Zach. It is wonderful to be here with you, the corruption detector, on your great show with your great audience, and I'm so happy to be back here. A lot of good stuff we have to discuss tonight.
We sure do. You know, a bit of good news, bit of bad news. You know, I mean, it seems like the world is literally on fire right now. You know, we have this horrible situation taking place in Minnesota. It's not black and white. There are many layers taking place there. But, you know, at the heart of it, when I saw it happen and I knew you were going to be on here this week, I thought about your opinion of the situation as a former law enforcement officer. I mean, when you see a situation like that, I would imagine it's gotta just enrage you, because this, unfortunately, is the quintessential example that people will take a look at and say, oh, well, there we go. We can just prove it unequivocally. You know, all police are bad guys because of this one lone wolf that was acting completely out of order.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the FBI, we used to say, you don't need to be a professional investigator to know when someone's pissing on your leg and telling you it's raining.
Yeah.
You know, and in this case, I will say, you don't need to be an attorney to know that this is absolute BS to charge this guy, Officer Chauvin, with third-degree murder and or manslaughter, which is murder without intention, with no intention. That's nonsense. That's insane, and it's not going to make the situation any better.
No.
Because this was clearly intentional murder.
So how does, okay, I had no idea first of all, there even was such a thing as third-degree murder. I thought that manslaughter was essentially, you know, ending someone's life but not intending to. So how is third-degree murder any different from manslaughter?
It's very similar, and you'd have to go into the legal legal weeds on that. But it's third-degree murder is extremely similar to manslaughter. It just means killing someone through extraordinary reckless indifference, but without intentionally doing it. Well, that's absolutely nonsense, because what we saw on that video was absolute second-degree murder. It was absolute. It was murder in the old language from the common law. It was murder from a depraved and malignant heart, and with full dark intention to snuff out the life of another person.
Right.
That was absolutely present there on that video. Not only of that individual, but of the 3 other police officers who were there as well. All of them committed acts to help that person intentionally murder George Floyd. The other ones had their knees as well on his body as well. And the Asian officer
Mm-hmm.
was physically pushing back the crowd that was trying to come in and save
Right.
George Floyd. They were physically, and he was just shoving them back. So they all committed acts in furtherance of that murder. Whether I'm not sure whether you would want to go with conspiracy to commit murder or accessory to commit murder, but they're all guilty of that as well, and that's why you need an intentional murder charge on the main guy, because that's very clear.
Mm.
But unfortunately, we have there's politicians involved here who are terrified that they might get an acquittal. So
Oh, if they
instead
went
of
too hard and heavy?
right,
Okay.
exactly. That's what they're absolutely terrified, and so they're charging third degree murder, which has nothing to do with what we saw on that video. What we saw in that video. And I was trying to think of a good analogy to put out on Twitter, but there's nothing is analogous to that situation of what we saw when that guy had his knee on George Floyd's neck, on his throat, basically, for about 7 or 8 minutes, making sure that every last bit of life was snuffed out of him at that point.
I mean, it was just shocking. I mean, and even more shocking was I had no idea that the other officers were on top of him as well. I mean, in the video that I saw, I could only see Derek Chauvin or whatever his name is. And then I thought, what are the other guys doing? I mean, are they just milling around? I mean,
There's another
one's
video.
Listening? Okay.
There's another video that from another angle that shows the other two officers, who are pretty big guys as well. They're almost as big as Floyd himself, and they also had their knees on the rest of his body, as the main culprit had his knees on the throat of the individual. So there's 3 other officers here, and that were involved with acts of their own to further the murder of this individual, of George Floyd. And that's a pretty rare occurrence, let me tell you, because you can always find, it's very rare that you'll have a group of cops in a situation and they're all bad cops, all of them. That's usually, there's at least one good one.
Right.
And that's the most usual situation. Let me tell you real quick. When I was in the FBI, one of my last assignments was a massive surveillance on a sort of a drug kingpin who was living in this beautiful estate. And we had to have a full court press surveillance on his home. And one night I drove my sedan into the forest right outside of his home. So I had a good line into the front of his home, and to see when he arrived and when he was going. And so I drove my sedan into the forest a little bit, and then I laid down the seat, and I laid down in the seat, and I just made it look like an abandoned car that I was in. And then I had my binocs and my radio, and I was in contact with the other people who were doing pretty much the same thing around the perimeter of this estate, of this home, where this guy was. And sure enough, and this was an overnight surveillance. And so as we approached, probably the hour of 3 a.m., I had a couple of somebody spotted me. Somebody spotted that somebody was in my vehicle, that I was in my vehicle, and they reported it. And I had a couple of white cops. I have no other way to say it. A couple of white cops sidled up on my vehicle as I was laying down, and I was pretty much invisible because nobody could see that there was somebody, but they knew I was in there. So one of them comes up to the window and starts knocking on the window. And I was a little surprised because this kid who came knocking on the window looked like he had just graduated from high school. I mean, it was a baby-faced kid. And right away, I just looked at his face and I just said, "Oh my God, this is like the chief's son on his first day on the force." And so then I rolled down the window, and I didn't move a muscle because I didn't want to get shot.
Right.
And I I just stood there like a board, just stiffed out like a board, and I didn't move my hands. And he said, "Sir, what are you doing here? What's up? What's going on?" And I just said to him very calmly, my calm voice, that Star Wars Ben Yoda voice, I forgot, but Ben Kenobi voice.
Ben Kenobi.
I said to him, "I'm an FBI agent. I'm on surveillance. I am surveilling this home that's right down there in front of me, a couple of hundred yards. We are out here. We notified your shift commander that we are out here as we are supposed to. So if you call in to the shift commander, he will tell you that there are FBI agents out here and they are surveilling this thing. And also, I have my right on the center console. I moved my head a little bit like this, and I said, right on the center console is my badge. My badge is right there, and underneath it is my gun." And that was all I said to him. And so then the second guy behind him says to him, "What'd he say?" and and babyface kid, the high school graduate with the gun, he turns around to the other guy, and he says to him, he said he's got a gun.
Oh my God, no.
And it was one of those moments like that 3D Matrix moment,
Yeah.
when everything just kind of freezes, and I just start going, no, and it's too late. And thank God, God was with me, because the second guy turned out he was older man. He was a veteran, and
a little more wisdom.
And he looks at the baby face like, "What's wrong with you?" He says, "Get out of my way." He says, Sir, what's going on? What's the deal?" And I was like, "Oh my God." And I just let my breath out, and I repeated the whole spiel again to him.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Okay, sir, great, no problem. I'm going to go call it in, and we'll check with shift commander, and we'll get that info out. Thank you very much." And so he goes out. He goes back. He finds out that I am supposed to be out there, and that we did notify the shift commander and all that. And then he comes back. He says, "Sir, yeah, that's cool, sir. Carry on your product." And I say to him, "Hey, thanks, man. Listen, that kid is looking to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
You got to watch out for that kid. Watch out for him really carefully." And the officer said to me, "Yeah, I know. I'm gonna tell his dad. His dad is the police." I was like, "How did I know? How did I know?"
Oh man.
I've actually had other incidences.
I bet.
With police officers that went badly.
Yeah.
And they turned out to be the chief's son.
Ugh.
Turned out to be the chief's son. It's just a weird sort of synchronicity. But I tell that story to emphasize that I've always found good cops along with the bad cops that I've encountered. And luckily, you just gotta, hopefully it doesn't cost a person's life.
Yeah.
You encountered those bad cops. So that was my own anecdote.
The good news is I do believe that the good cops outnumber the bad cops, by a fair margin. So, right. But I mean, the truth of the matter is, all it does is take one bad apple, for things to go really, really wrong. Exactly. And to tell you something, John, the case just got even weirder. My viewers have told me something. First of all, Baby Yoda, what's up, brother? When he said Ben Yoda, I almost died right there. Michael Holden, thanks for joining as a member. KC Anon says the coroner has made a statement and said Floyd did not die of asphyxiation, and the charges don't match the cause of death. So now, is this a coroner that's covering up for someone?
Yeah. Well, what did he say he died of?
Well, that's the thing. You guys, if you could, just fill me in, maybe let me know what that is. I'm going to have to look this up, though, while we're talking. Dana Finkler, what's up, brother? He says, heck yeah, the X-Man is back. Baby Yoda says, John, can you get Red to laugh like when you two figured out the Big Mike problem? Still cracks me up. Love it. Laughter heals all. My best to you both. Absolutely. Baby Yoda, I guarantee you I'm going to be cracking up tonight. And Dana Finkler says, John, oh, honey, you got to get out of the way. John always brings out that RP78 laugh. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So, you know, this is also one of the reasons why I love to have you on the show, is because, I mean, you're a good friend. You're very funny, easy to talk to. You know, when you're on the show, it's not just me like asking you questions, grilling you and stuff. I mean, so it's a good time, man. So I appreciate you coming on. Now, let's see if anybody. Oh, he had a heart condition. Okay, well. So he had a heart condition. Well, here's the thing. If he was, if he's being essentially like sat on by 4 grown adult men, I bet you his blood pressure was really raised. I'm sure that he wasn't getting enough oxygen because of that, having his neck stepped on. So even if he didn't die of asphyxiation, I think it's fair to say that the actions of those police officers definitely led to his death. Yes, which is, there's the murder. There goes the murder. So slow the chat, honey. Yes, I can do that for you. Let me get this. Can I get a count on number of people here and the likes as well, guys? Because I'm not getting accurate numbers again. All right. So, shoot, there was another point that I wanted to make in regards to what was going on. Oh, that's right. Also, the other things that were kind of strange about the situation. Gafferanon says, I'm just here for the sports ball stats and the dog fights. Hashtag Muffingate care package headed your way this weekend. Awesome. Did you happen to hear about Muffingate, John?
Yeah. Why is Muffingate a major search term in Google now? It's like
I know it is.
If I put MU into Google, it comes out Muffingate right away.
That's what's amazing. Going on? All right, what's so happening? That is a testament to the size of the audience and to the fact that they're messing with my numbers, okay? In order to get Muffingate trending, and here's the thing, when I do my tags on my videos now, it suggests Muffingate to me. So if I go and put Muffingate on all of my videos, then I would probably have, people from all corners of the internet on my channel. But, all right, so what was Muffingate? I was on the show with John Mark Dugan, the former Palm Beach County Sheriff's deputy who had to leave the country because he sought asylum in Russia. He was given many terabytes of blackmail data from Jeffrey, the billionaire down there in Palm Beach. The lead detective, who is now deceased on that case in the mid to late 2000s. When he realized that they weren't going to do anything to this guy, or that Alex Acosta and the federal government weren't going to do anything, he gave all the blackmail material to John. Okay, so then John, basically, they came after him for some trumped up charges and tried to put him in prison. So he fled the country. He left through Canada. He got asylum in Russia. And just recently, he's been attacked by like the Daily Mail, some big name outfits. But he and I were talking about the situation, and, I have a standing desk. My dogs were underneath there, and it was getting close to the time where they would normally want to go to the bathroom. So they're playing with each other, and I can hear they're getting frisky, and then out of nowhere, it's like they're both out for blood, and they're just like at each other's necks, and I was like, hey, I'm yelling because they're barking and just growling, and I couldn't separate them, so I had to like take my headphones off and scoop Muffin out and separate them and take them out. And I, there were many people who were listening, but not necessarily watching. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, everything gets crazy. And somebody made a little meme of it. They clipped out the 15-second video, and it's pretty funny. I got to put that up on my YouTube.
It's the best television I've seen anywhere in a long time. It was amazing, especially the part where he tried to just keep on talking and just ignore the situation.
Yeah, that was the best part for me, is that he didn't miss a beat. He just kept going. Somebody else says on their Roku, when they type in Red Pill 78, it brings up Red Pill 78 Muffingate. I need to upload that video this weekend, you guys. I'm going to do that.
Oh, it's awesome. It's the best thing that's been on
so
TV
funny.
ever.
So funny.
Ever.
Okay, so
it reminded me of when John Kerry, the Democrat globalist politician, was giving some long, boring speech. He was just yawning on and on, and suddenly the security decides they want to tase some
Don't
big guy
tease me,
in the
bro.
audience, and he's screaming at the top of his lungs, "Don't tase me, bro! Don't tase me, bro!" And
Oh
John
man.
Kerry is just droning on in the background like
Yeah.
nothing's happening,
Pretending he's just not even there. Yeah,
pretending
that
he's
was a
not
good one.
there. And it was incredible. And these guys are just jumping all over this guy and tasing him.
Yeah, he was a protester. I think he had a sign, and they didn't want him talking about whatever it was he was talking about. It was probably about the war because of the time that it was. But so thinking about how there's some other things that aren't making sense necessarily with this case. In the initial footage that I saw, there was one car with a particular squad number on the outside, and there was a group of officers that walked in. And then when the arrest happens, it looked like the squad car had a different number and it was for different officers. So either, they arrived to assist with the first team or they swapped them out at some point. Like some guys walked in and then some different guys walked out. I don't know what the situation is. And then also you have the damage.
It's possible that some cops responded and then saw this guy Chauvin had a very a very well-known reputation as a terrorist of the black community in that area.
Okay.
People knew him, including other cops, and so it's very possible that a couple of cops responded, saw what he was up to, and just said, "You know what? We don't want any part of this. Let's get the hell out of here."
Wow.
And they could. It's possible that they did, and they did the right thing.
Yeah.
If that's what happened, they did the right thing because the four who were there, they are all going down for murder.
Somebody said the paramedics were cops. I mean, yeah, I don't know. And here's the other thing is that he was apparently trying to pass off a fake $20 bill. I mean, I've been given a fake $20 bill before and didn't realize it and tried to spend it at a different store. And, just as a matter of, good housekeeping, they went ahead and, checked it with the pen and they were like, sorry, this one's fake, So, I mean, the very fact that they would call the police for a single $20 bill, it's very strange. And then when you put it together with the situation I was telling you about before the show, a local bar owner there in Minneapolis realized once she saw the coverage on TV that George Floyd had been a security guard at her bar until she sold it in late December 2019. And then Derek Chauvin had also been a security guard there. And it was a long time. It was like 10 or 12 years or something like that. So the possibility that they knew each other is probably pretty likely, But he didn't appear to be resisting. It just seemed like there was an overwhelming use of force, from the get-go. Passing a fake bill. I mean, maybe you're in a bank and you come in with $10,000 in fake 20s. Maybe they should be calling the police, but. I mean, it just seemed strange that they called the police on him for a single $20 bill. And then the fact that he didn't resist, and so he didn't resist. He most likely knew Derek Chauvin, and it seems to me like a contrived situation that maybe he thought he was going to get out of, because If I was in that situation myself, I've got four guys on top of me, I think it would be very difficult for me to be calm, cool, and collected. I mean, I don't know about you, you've got the law enforcement experience, but if you had four guys kneeling on you, I feel like I would be involuntarily, just going off at the top of my lungs. I don't think I could handle it.
No, you can't move with that much weight on you. You can't even move an inch because it's just so much weight and pressure on top of you. And so that, because he was trying to move and he just couldn't. That's why that sort of a restraint method is lethal. It's meant to kill you.
Is that normal? Is that a normal restraint method?
Never.
Not something
No.
you'd be taught?
Never.
Okay.
No one would be taught that restraint method, to put a knee, even to put a knee on the back, because even if you put your knees with your all your weight
Mm-hmm.
on the back of the person, it starts to depress their lungs, and it starts to suffocate them. It
Mm-hmm.
starts to suffocate them, and cause respiratory distress. Forget about even before you get to the neck.
Mm-hmm.
But putting the knee in the neck and all that weight on the neck is absolutely lethal.
Yeah, that
It's
just seemed
absolutely lethal.
insane to me. I couldn't understand why that would happen.
Yeah, no one teaches that. Not even the Israeli IDF
They're ruthless.
teach that. They don't, because it's just it's too lethal. That's what it is. So I think that in this situation too, there's a lot of grudges going on, like the guy who called the police for a $20 bill forgery,
Yeah.
which I believe that bill turned out to be real. It turned out not to be
It
forgery.
did?
I don't believe it did, because they would have talked about it if it had been a counterfeit. They would have
Wow.
actually brought that up, and it's never been mentioned again. So that makes me believe that the bill was probably a genuine one, and also makes me believe that that store owner had some kind of grudge with George Floyd, and it's very possible that Chauvin had a grudge with George Floyd also, probably back from the day.
Yeah.
Back from the day, maybe because you didn't see him resisting, but it's very possible. It's very possible that Floyd may have said to Chauvin, "Hey, why don't you let me go, or else I'm going to tell your buddies about the time that you did such and such in the club."
Right.
And that would have been enough to make Chauvin go crazy. That's a speculation. That's my speculation.
I'm trying to locate that picture that I was telling you about, because there in the riots, I've had many people from Minneapolis, reach out. They said that they were there at these protests. It started out as a peaceful protest, and one of the big things that set it off is there was this guy in all black. He had a respirator breather on over his face. He had goggles on. He had an umbrella so that helicopters or drones couldn't take footage of him. And he was breaking out windows. He set a fire. He was in and around the Target right there, and he was essentially provoking people into causing damage and looting. And it's been stated by his ex-wife that he is an active member of the Minneapolis Police Department. I'm sure that has yet to be fully verified, but the images that I saw, it really, to me, looks like it's the same person. I mean, you've only got that space right there, but this guy has a particular look to his eyes, and I thought, if you have, a current spouse or even an ex-spouse, you've looked at them every single day for who knows how long, I think you should be able to, to pick them out. Now, of course, maybe she's got a grudge. Maybe she has a reason to say that this is him, but it's far-fetched. It is far-fetched to think that an active duty police officer would go in there and destroy stuff, unless he is on the payroll of something like the Open Society Foundation. And this goes back to the idea that people were bussed in. So many people that watched the show saying that there was all of these people there that they had never met. And
Exactly.
It's not inconceivable because we know it's been done before.
Absolutely. And we need to go back. We need to get rid of these masks, because
Yes.
we need to go back to the municipal rules that the cities used to have, that you can't wear a mask within the city limits, because that's a device used by Rumpus Society and Open Society, George Soros, all of these rent-a-mobs. It's a method used by them to avoid facial recognition.
Yes.
And we need to get rid of these masks immediately, because they don't help your health at all. They make things much worse.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to be wearing them unless you're a healthcare worker working with patients. That's the only reason to be wearing masks.
And how about the CNN anchor being arrested on the air? They arrest
Yeah.
the anchor, but then they don't arrest the cameraman. That was so obviously contrived as well. I mean,
I
made
thought
no
I saw
sense.
the I thought I saw the cameraman arrested also, and they
Okay.
left the camera on the floor for a period of time, and it kept filming. But yeah, that looked to me that looked very staged by a network that is very desperate to become relevant
Hmm.
again in a place where they are reviled. They are absolutely reviled. So yeah, I don't buy that for a second.
No,
That operation.
and now after whipping up this mob mentality amongst people in Minneapolis and other places, because now people are attacking the White House, but their headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, have also been attacked and set on fire and broken into. So a little bit of justice
Wow.
there. But that footage of the reporter being arrested, he wasn't they didn't show the officers asking him to leave. He was well beyond the blockade. They allowed him to do his intro, and then he
Right.
basically got to his breaking point, and they said, okay, you're being arrested. And he was like,
it
okay,
was,
like, it
it
took
was,
me right back to Gulf War One, with
yeah,
those guys on the building in front of the blue screen, like, oh, they're
yeah,
incoming. Totally
yeah,
faking it.
exactly. I think the police should have actually had these Nerf batons, and they should have just started hitting the CNN guy. Don't club me, bro. Don't club me, bro. No, bro. And you could actually hear the Nerf empty plastic baton hitting the guy in the head, and they could pretend and then carry him off on a stretcher. They should have gone all the way with the operation if
Yeah,
they
I
want to
mean,
make it look convincing.
why stop there? I
Like
mean,
like Wide World Wrestling. They should have brought some chairs too and smashed them on the CNN, and the CNN guys could have just gone like, "Oh my gosh,
you got him on the
oh that was
ropes.
terrible, that was terrible. Oh, we went down. Okay, but the camera's perfectly fine on the ground, still filming,
That's the
still
thing.
filming."
A $25,000, studio camera, and no one's going to loot that, but they're going to take stuff from the Dollar Tree. I mean, the Dollar Tree got broken into. I'm sure I've heard they've lost tens of dollars worth of merchandise.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, remember, I don't watch CNN for the same reason that I don't drink from the toilet. So everyone maintain that rule. Maintain that rule, and you'll be good.
Let me just say thank you to a couple of people. Dana Finkler says, Big Mike. That's right. Let's see. Gaffer Anon, thanks again. Michael Holden says, news is saying bad actors and such. Riots and protests are happening around the country. Since the officer is arrested, will violence go down? I'm going to make a prediction and say that no, violence will not go down because,
Yeah,
first of all, there are people out there who are doing this not for any goal besides just the destruction and watching the world burn. I
right.
feel that the timing of this, again, very, very coincidental in terms of what's happening. People were just about to open up the country and go outside. They're no longer afraid. Except now they are afraid again. People, who's going to want to go outside? I live in a city where there has been riots and there has been looting in the past. I've seen cars tipped over. So, this is not the kind of thing I want to get involved in. Michael Holden, thank you. The Spicy Conservative, thank you for that. Casey Anon says, let's make it stranger. The cop kneeling on Floyd's neck worked with him off duty as a security guard at the same bar. Yes, that is just such a crazy coincidence. I mean, it defies logic there. Redeemed Patriot says, after Muffin Gate, Red Pill had to check if his spaghetti still had meatballs. Oh, don't worry. Everything was intact. Aaron Franks says, neighbor thought he was a real estate agent. Waters are muddy. The woke thing is confusing. Aaron, are you talking about the police officer or are you talking about George Floyd?
No, the police officer. People thought his neighbors said that they believed that he was a realtor because he never talked about being a cop at all, and his wife it was actually a realtor, and
Okay.
so they ended up believing that he was a realtor also.
Well, John, I have heard other people come to me. The other people have come to me, and they've said, if you are a law enforcement officer, you're not necessarily going to broadcast it. So, because you're putting your life at risk. When you're off duty, you don't want to be thinking about these things. You want to be safe and secure. So, for yourself, when you were active duty FBI, was that something that you would talk about with just anyone? Did your neighbors know what you did, or did you have a private life?
No, neighbors would know what I did. If I had any regular contact with them at all. It's not something I kept a secret at all. It's being in the FBI is not like it's not like being in the CIA or something like
Sure.
that.
Sure.
It's a pretty public job as well, because we have to go out and arrest people and big high level arrests all the time. So it's not something that would normally be kept a secret the way that this shady character kept it, apparently.
All right. John Howe says, George Floyd tragedy, case 1. In fact, he did resist. I haven't seen, I'm only saying that I didn't see the video or the portion where he was resisting. What I'm interested in is
absolutely irrelevant. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You cannot do things like what they did. All of the police officers. You can't do things. It doesn't matter if a person is resisting, because from the point where all resistance has been snuffed out and they are helpless, they are cuffed, they are prostrate, they are compliant. You have to go from that point. You have to be professional and you have to take that person and then place them under arrest, take them away.
Yeah.
That's the way. Resistance, it doesn't matter, because the resistance had been defeated, if there was any. That's just the way it is.
And then he says, fact, the cop did not have his hand in his pocket. I'm not certain about what part that plays in it. And then, in fact, he did die of a heart attack, not strangulation or asphyxiation. That's from Paul Sperry. But, while all of those facts, may be true, like you said, the end result was, the loss of his life. Oh, hey, and Edge of Wonder is in the chat. What's up, guys? How are you?
Whoa.
Yeah.
We love those guys.
We certainly do. I would love to do another show with you guys, man. It's been too long.
Me too.
Joe W., thank you for that. Ashley Cooper says George's cousin's name is Tara Reid. What are the odds? Also ironic that the murder was committed by police kneeling. Colin Kaepernick, symbolism will be their downfall. Yes, once again, all of these things kind of just, calling back to other situations. Candy De Leon says, I work in the medical profession. I wear a mask pretty much most of the time. I'm on the clock while dealing with patients. I refuse to wear a mask in general life. I need a break from masks.
Good.
Yeah. And same thing with me. I had to go out and go shopping yesterday. And the businesses in my area are telling us that we can't shop unless we have a mask. So I walked in with the mask, and then I simply took it off as soon as I walked past the minder. And then, when I left, I didn't bother to put it back on. So
yeah, it's symbolism. Wearing the mask is symbolism. You can ask the guys at Edge of Wonder. The globalists use black magic, sigil magic, and they demand this symbol, this open symbol of submission to the globalist state. And the symbol in this go round, the symbol is wearing that mask. Why do you think the reporters at the beginning of every presidential conference, they always harass and demand that the president wear his mask? Why isn't he wearing his mask? Why won't you wear your mask? What's going on with your mask? And they kept on doing that over and over again. Why? Because they know that their masters want that final symbol of submission from the president, to wear that mask on in public.
Yeah,
that's what they want.
But President Trump will not kneel before anyone but God. That's it.
Exactly.
Son of a Green Card says, did you see the headline that CNN went for the camera on the ground story? Absolutely disgusting. Yes, we did talk about that a little bit. That's another one that just seems too contrived. Kathleen Glockner says, why is every time this race garbage comes up, they riot and they riot and tear up other people's stuff? This stuff always brings out the ignorance. Love RP78. The answer to that is that it's low-hanging fruit. The whole the whole design of situations like this is to cause outrage, is to cause division amongst people, to further separate us, to further compartmentalize us. And they know that they can just go for this easy, low-hanging fruit and cause people across the country to just well up with anger. And then they continue to stoke it. And as John said, I mean, I do believe that there is a form of magic or sorcery taking place here. They harness that energy and then they use it for their own ends.
Exactly.
Baby Yoda says Ben of Edge of Wonder in the chat. Okay, sweet. So it is Ben and not Rob. Red Pills Warhawk says, coffee, kilt, and a tomahawk. Great show, brother. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. John House says, Paul Sperry, almost everything we were originally told about the George Floyd tragedy is turning out not to be the case. So, again, nothing is clear about this. You know, I mean, there's been multiple pieces of video that have been released. Obviously, not the entire thing is out, and I have absolutely no idea what the truth on this thing is, because it's over shadowed with all of this other stuff. It's very unclear. Dave Stealth Bomber says symbolism will be their downfall. Officer had hand in pocket while knee on neck. Evidence of ritual killing. Baby Love 78, pure speculation, but isn't there a way that the deep state can cause heart attacks? Yes, they can. This came out in it wasn't the church hearings? Whatever.
There's a heart attack gun, yeah.
Yeah. And they can it's a dose by a tiny frozen bullet, essentially, and then it melts after it goes into you. It's from like shellfish poison. Right. Let's see. Crypto Beetle says George Soros said the destruction of America is his life's goal. Yeah, that actually came out in one of the posts today. This is them pulling out all the stops as their fake flu isn't working. They're losing. We're winning. It's that simple. Keep it up. Where we go one, we go all. God bless you all. And that is exactly the point. As I said, people are now no longer afraid to stay indoors because of the flu. They start going out, and they've given us another reason to stay inside. And then at the same time, they get to pull that card and say that President Trump is, a racist, and this is all up to him. I mean, the whole the fault of everything lies at the feet of the president. And, they're going to do this until they find something that works.
Yeah. I got social justice rage. So now I need a widescreen TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I saw some footage of an African-American business owner from Minneapolis, and his shop had been looted, destroyed. I believe it was set on fire. He lost everything. I mean, these people that are doing this are using it as an excuse to just cause mayhem and destruction. And it's completely counterintuitive. If their goal is to, somehow make things better for African Americans in this country by burning and destroying the businesses of African American community members who are, arguably, they've done something good in their lives. Most people don't own a store, so this guy, who knows what's going on? Who knows if he has insurance? It's just tragic. It's a horrible thing to see.
Now, here's another conspiratorial speculation. Mm-hmm. If you notice, there has been an extraordinary amount of energy and fuel and ammo used to destroy so many of these businesses. My question is this: why is that police headquarters still standing? I mean, it's still standing. It's almost unmolested, and it's completely accessible to everybody. There's like a little fence surrounding it that's like 4 feet tall, and everyone can go in there. And they were standing. All the protesters, all the rioters were standing all around the police headquarters, which is a brick building essentially, that is an incredible target. And yet that building has not been destroyed. All the Molotov cocktails that they have, mm-hmm. all of the devices, incendiary devices that they have, and they have not destroyed that building.
Yeah,
now, to me, when I see how much has been expended around the neighborhood, it's been more than enough Molotov cocktails and fuel to destroy that entire building, but it hasn't been done. That makes me believe that there's a reason why they have done that, because they want this conflict to go on and on and on. And if they destroy that building,
there's no base of operations.
Yeah, there's no base of operations for the cops, and they will withdraw to another area, and then the conflict is over. That's why they haven't destroyed that building. That's why that building is basically untouched completely.
If anybody out there knows the article that I'm referring to with the off-duty police officer who's the agent provocateur, and you can send it to me, please do. I would really like to show that on the stream. Denise said the incident was on 33rd Street at 666, was on the bin beside him. I believe there was also like 322 in there. I think his badge number was 1087, so 187. Just so many instances of things that are pointing to the symbolism. Joe W. says, I saw a few days ago that in the police training manual for the department, a knee on the back of the neck was approved non-lethal technique. That
Where?
Is incredible. Apparently, in the police training manual for that department. I wonder if this is something that they just added like in the last week, and he was like, man, I've been wanting to try this out.
They photoshopped it in. No, that's not I'm
going to have to try to find it.
That's not true.
But there was another person, Baby Love. Was it you that sent me the message with the agent provocateur, and then there was a man in a pink shirt that seemed to be following him around, was also with him. It's I need somebody to send me that training manual. If that's true, I want to know. Miss Sue says the bar owner is a fireman. He hadn't even opened yet. There was a GoFundMe for him. Check Timcast to get the link. And then Chris Holmes, also thank you for that. Also Sandy on PayPal. Hunter on PayPal. Thank you so much. Shannon, appreciate you, Shannon. And Terry as well. Thank you so much, guys. Now the other thing about people rioting and being upset, it's not just, the racial aspect, but now people are going to be upset because of the leniency, perhaps, of the charges. This is the other question I have for you, John. Are these state charges or are these federal charges?
State charges. There is no federal charge for murder, basically, that I've ever seen employed against people. So no, this is a state charge for Minnesota. Those are the ones who charge murder at this point. But they're doing it very badly. So I hope that will be fixed very quickly, because that district attorney that I saw, that guy is just a terrible politician. He's a terrible politician because yesterday he actually said, we don't know. There might not be any charges at all. We don't know. We have to look carefully at this evidence, and it could take months. Well, apparently the governor called him. And told him that he's going to lose his job. That he's going to lose his job because now today he came on television and he said, "Oh, we're charging, third-degree murder," which is, again, like I said, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense, and it will. I'm sure. I think it'll be changed. I think that decision will be changed shortly.
Right. I mean, I was thinking the same thing. I mean, just because they're charging him with that initially doesn't mean that will end up being the charge that he gets if he goes to to court, to trial on this, because they could always. I mean, they're going to be continuing to investigate. Obviously, I mean, they're going to look at all the evidence and then they can up the ante. They can throw some additional charges on there. Let me see. Okay, trying to get this pulled up, but Elder says, my doctor said this about the masks. The virus is very small. If you can smell a fart through your mask isn't working.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, you're going to. I mean, there's no way around it. I mean, everybody knows.
Okay. I just wanted to tell you, Zach, that in case you want to get any authors, whenever you want to get authors on your show, you have a lot of readers in your audience, because they are buying my books
Oh,
right
great.
now.
I didn't even bring it
And
up yet, guys. That's
yeah,
awesome.
they're really good. So because I'm getting the orders as we're sitting here, and it's
Yeah.
really something. So I wanted you to know that that always happens whenever I'm on your show,
Awesome.
to a very large extent. So you can actually, that's really good bragging rights for you, for your show, because I always thought that YouTube influencers don't have any readers,
Oh no,
but
we're all
apparently,
intelligent.
yeah,
we
but
still read.
you got a tremendous audience. So for that purpose, I wanted to just tell a quick story
Go ahead.
about, in honor, well, because of this situation, because it's very relevant, about my book, Para Investigators, which is basically a large collection of stories about great law enforcement officers. I mean, just great law enforcement officers. Not only great law enforcement officers, but people who, like Christ said, there's no greater love hath a man than this, that he should lay down his life for his friends. Well, these are the types of police officers that I have that I write about in Para Investigators. Police officers who exercise not only their investigative skills, but they exercise their paranormal abilities, sometimes at great cost to themselves. And so that's very important. So I wanted to tell the story real quick, that we call, and this story is taught at police academies, at FBI Academy, and different academies, as to young officers. And we can't use the name of the officer that was involved, but it was a young officer, a young detective, who was, and we call this story "Practice on Me One Time." Practice on Me One Time. We call this story.
Okay.
And he was a young officer who had to respond to a residence where a young lady, a 17-year-old young lady, had disappeared, and they were trying to see what was going on. She had been missing for several days. They were kind of a trashy sort of blue collar family that were involved. It was a stepfather with a mom who kind of had a very rebellious teenager on her hands, and this officer he developed a suspicion that the stepfather had killed the young girl, had gotten rid of her. So he started interviewing and interrogating this man, who was a local mechanic. He was a local mechanic in the area, and they searched they heard rumors that there had been some sexual tension between this 17-year-old girl and the stepfather. And they interviewed the mother about it, and the mother was kind of alcoholic, kind of out to lunch, and they went back, and he re-interviewed the stepfather again and again, who was a young mechanic basically. And they went over this with him, and so he decided to do a para-investigative technique of empathy with this guy. And he said to the guy, "Look, I've been going through some of her clothing. It looks like, and I've been just looking around at her room. It seems like she was probably sexually promiscuous towards you. It sounds like there was something going on between the two of you, and she was also very belligerent. So I'm thinking that she bothered you, she challenged you, and you probably tried to do the best you could because you're trying to keep this family together." And he went on and on like that, and he went on to tell the guy, "Look, if she challenged you and she seduced you, and now she was blackmailing you, something like that, I totally understand. I think it's very understandable. It's a very common situation." He was trying to empathize with the guy and try to really bring him in towards a place where he could confess to the guy what really happened to this young lady. He told the guy, "Look, we're not going anywhere with this investigation until we find something." And he had dogs. He had some dogs scour the living room area for blood, and he tried to have the place searched for evidence of some sort of conflict, and he was unable to find anything. And then Finally, he kept on telling the guy, look, I really have a feeling. I really have a feeling. And he got a download. He got a download, one of those like remote viewing downloads
Sure.
where he saw a vision of what happened. He saw a vision of what happened. And he saw this young lady sexually seducing this guy, and then arguing with him that she was going to expose him, that he was having sex with her to the entire neighborhood. And then he saw the man push her and smash her head against a bureau that was solid wood mahogany. And,
so a Scarborough.
Smashed her head. Yeah, exactly. A Scarborough situation.
Yeah.
And he saw this, and then the young man started to cry and started to say to him, okay, and stood up, and he said to him, all right, listen, I'm gonna tell you everything that happened, but first I have to just go and talk to her mother, who was over at another location because she didn't want to be at the house. She was at another location, and his pickup truck was right outside. He said, I have to go talk to her mother first, and then I'm going to come here and I'm going to tell you everything that happened. Well, at that moment, the young detective, he just got a download. He got a download that if that guy had left, some more people were going to die.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the only way he could describe it. He got that irresistible feeling that he knew for a fact that if he allowed that guy to go, more people were going to die. And so he finally says to the guy, okay, you can go and talk to her mother before you come back and talk to me. He says, but you know what? Just practice on me one time what you're going to say to her mother. That's it. Just practice one time. That's all I want. And so he sat down and he did that. And he basically confessed that he killed the young lady. It was sort of accidental. And he told him in the practice, he told him that. And he was like, okay, I gotcha. He pulled out the handcuffs. He was able to arrest him. And then he brought in the state lab, which had more sophisticated methods. And they were able to get blood from the carpet. Oh, wow. Which had been gotten out with bleach, which had been with more sophisticated methods that they have, because his local PD didn't have those.
Like luminol or something like that?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. More sophisticated methods. And they were able to find the blood, and they were able to, so it broke the case wide open. They were able to get him. And he also found out that the young man had shotgun in the front seat of his pickup truck.
Oh, wow.
He had some new shotgun shells that he had, and he was planning to confess to the mother and then kill her and kill himself. And he had no intention of coming back to confess to him. And he found that out later. And that's a true story. That really happened exactly the way it was said. And it's taught at police academies all over the country.
That's incredible.
To make police officers listen to their own intuition, in order to save people's lives.
That's wonderful. That's really amazing to know that they do that, and that it's not just an anecdote. You know, I mean, like, I think many people have heard stories like that. You know, but I mean, like, the fact that it is taught as a rule, that's pretty incredible. You know, I mean, I think that all of us have an intuition. We have a sixth sense that I believe most people are just taught to ignore. You know, that's my imagination, or, you know, whatever it is. And if we can trust ourselves and actually listen to that, you know, I think we can, tap into something that as of yet is not necessarily understood. You know, I mean, you think about animals, you know, they have, birds, they have the ability to tell which direction they're going. You know, I mean, animals can smell fear. They can tell if a predator is near, even if there's no sounds or, any visual cues. And I think that the same thing is true in people. I mean, we are very, very intuitive if we can learn to tune into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if we can do it, we can.
That's true.
So let's see. John Howe says, "Oh, Floyd may not even actually be really dead. All a part of the show." I mean, honestly, like it's something like that. I mean, it could happen. They could have pulled an Epstein on him. Chef Dan says the cabal wanted people to riot. We didn't. Civil war is their goal. If you haven't mentioned it yet, and love you. Yeah, Methods and I actually did talk about this on Thursday, and this is one of the things that I'm starting to see now in this movement. People saying, where we go one, we go all, but I'm ready to rise up and, pull out the temporary occupant of the White House and just take over the country. To me, those two points of view are mutually exclusive. And if I hear somebody saying, it's time to revolt, Donald Trump hasn't done enough fast enough, let's take over and we'll have, the true Second American Revolution. That appears to me in most cases to be an agent provocateur on our side. I mean, we're smart enough to know this, guys. They have people on the right and the left. And this is exactly the kind of thing that they would want to do. This is the play, because they do want to cause civil war. We are in the middle of a bloodless, by and large, a bloodless Second American Revolution as we, are living here on this earth today. President Trump is on our side. There has been so much that's happened, very, very good things. Yes, some things still happen that I think it would be a much better world if, these horrors and atrocities weren't taking place. But in the end, we're moving towards something which is going to be a much, much different place here for all of us. Red Pills Warhawk says, in my whisper voice, don't ignore the girlfriend. She's going to make you pay. Honey, I didn't see a chat from you. Hold on. I saw that you had texted earlier, but we already addressed it in the chat. Kelly Cummings says, Patriot Hour showed EMTs with vest and armed getting in the ambulance. Chris Holmes says the cop was not a cop. Air is flying them in to instigate and plan to get worse. Denise says, sent you the video you're looking for in a PM on Twitter. I have several videos I wanted to show you all. Muffin Gate. Floyd smells like an FF to refocus everyone away from the failing CV scam. Yes, I think so. But to be honest, I mean, just because it's an FF doesn't mean that he's, not actually alive any longer. And Kimberly Bogan says, thanks for all you do, guys. Keep red pilling. RP78, can you wish Grandpa Bogan a happy 80th birthday? May 28th. Team Bogan loves you guys. Happy birthday, Grandpa Bogan. I'm glad that you're here. Glad to see that the Bogan clan is with us tonight. John Howe says they never tried to help Floyd and they moved the dead person before he was officially declared dead. No medics present and they just flipped him on the cart. Is that what happened? They did not. They didn't wait for him to be declared dead at the scene.
Well, that's the old trick that authorities always do. The guy was clearly dead on the scene. The way you know that is because his chest and stomach were not moving when they moved him. So he clearly was dead because after all that exertion, his chest would be moving. His chest and stomach would be moving at least somewhat, but he was stone cold dead. But what they do is that typically they will wait for him to be declared officially dead by a doctor at the hospital, so that they can say, "Oh, he wasn't dead here. No, he was dead way later." So it wasn't directly related to our actions. Yeah, that's an old trick.
Let's see. Thank you, John. Cindy Lou Heineman Catlett joined as a member. Thank you. And Floyd Standifer the Fourth says, for Pete's sake, using his last name only matches my first name. Hearing Floyd makes me want to say I'm alive, friends. So sorry for that, Floyd. What's funny is I actually thought about it more than once when I was saying it. So Floyd Standifer the Fourth is definitely here. He's definitely alive. So George Floyd, unfortunately, as best we know, is no longer with us.
Right.
All right. So what I'm going to do is, John, I'm going to screen share so that I can show you these tweets. I also want to say, awesome. I have opened up the phone lines, guys. I put the information on the screen. I've also shared the Zoom link in the chat. Next, I'm going to share the meeting ID and the password. And then after I'm done showing this stuff off to John and to you guys, we'll go ahead and we'll take a couple of calls, and you can ask John your own questions. I hope that you guys have some good stuff to ask. So I've got a couple things. First of all, this is a video of a reporter at KSTP. He was caught playing a sound effect of fake gunshots on his phone. He was standing amongst a crowd of peaceful protesters, and he played this sound effect, which caused people to disperse. And he admits it here when he's confronted about it. So let me do the screen share, and you should be able to see this and hear it. Okay, and there we go. Actually, we'll do Google Chrome right there. Okay. All right, John, can you see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a listen.
That's what I saw. And why would you play that thing?
He's the one who played.
You knew what it was. You did that on purpose. You just destroyed it. You destroyed a peaceful protest. Why did you do that? An innocent man died. He had a family. He had parents.
Represent yourself.
And this man was part of it.
And I walked past and I heard it repeated. That's why I came.
Just absolutely incredible that that he would play that sound effect in the midst of all of those people. I mean, that would be your absolute worst nightmare. You go to something like this, an event, for whatever purpose, I mean, whether it's just to hang out or you go to a concert, I mean, Las Vegas immediately comes to mind. I mean, that's the kind of thing that's going to be in someone's mind. So, again, causing that fear and bringing that energy out in a crowd like this, it could have led to exactly what we saw. Okay, so now here is the images of the purported off-duty officer. His name is Jacob Peterson. Says that this is the suspected undercover officer sitting at the protest, setting things on fire. So I also saw video footage of this guy breaking out the windows of Target with a hammer. Take a look at his eyes and, take a look at this guy's eyes. I think that I can see a resemblance, but what really, gave me pause was the fact that it was his ex-wife who identified him as this individual. Now, this is a pretty sophisticated setup. I mean, obviously, when these agent provocateurs go to an event such as this, they do tend to have, full body covering. But that is a high-quality respirator right there. Very high quality.
That's the same guy.
Yes.
And I'd like to, I can see from the eyes, that is the same guy. The eyes are usually one of the primary things you can use for facial recognition on people. And also, local police officers are always allowed to have second jobs.
Yes.
Second jobs. As a matter of fact, it's encouraged. And so this guy, it looks to me like he has a second job with Open Border Society.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looks like to me.
All right. So now how do I stop the screen share? Let's see.
While you're doing that, I wanted to tell real quick a second story about an amazing Leo that, well, in this case, he tried to save a lot of lives, but he was prevented by the FBI and by the government. This was, and this has a lot of sauce on it, where it's the story of the Phoenix Memo, which people can find. It's supposedly it's been declassified in a lot of ways, and anyone can go look at it. It was also published in the 911 Commission report, which is a tissue of lies, except for the Phoenix Memo that was put in there. Anyway, there was this FBI agent who was called, he was legendary FBI agent. He was a terrorism hunter, and he was called the terrorism detector. Speaking of corruption detector, he was the terrorism detector. He was a guy who was renowned and legendary, and I can't say his name, but I think you could find his name if you look enough.
I'll do a search while we're talking.
Yeah, and he was, anyway, he put together like a 20-page memorandum in the days leading up in 2001, in the days leading up to the 911 operations. And he is the one we always had stories about. He's one of the people that taught me how to be an FBI agent. He was a person with amazing intuition against terrorists. And his, I wish I could say his name, but I don't know what he's doing now. And he was, like I said, the terrorism detective. He knew what terrorists were doing before even the terrorists knew. He just had a sense for that. Anyway, when
Kenneth Williams.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he wrote this 20-page memo to the FBI headquarters that actually said, hey guys, it looks like terrorists are planning a huge event using airliners and planes against some sort of target in the city. And then he went through all the evidence and he said, these are the reasons why I think I'm seeing a lot of preparatory behavior from various terrorists, international terrorists that I've been surveilling throughout the country. And here's what they're doing. And he went through all the evidence. And then he said, in that memo, he put in, and here's what we can do to prevent this from happening. And he actually went through several steps. He said, this is what we have to do. We have to go roust all of these individuals. We have to bring them in. We have to use immigration and naturalization to come with us to help us fight against these individuals and perhaps deport a lot of them. We need to disrupt their organizations and we need to do a whole bunch. And he laid it all out. He laid out everything that needed to be done to stop 9/11 from happening. And it was there. And you know what? FBI headquarters got his memo. And you know what they did? They took that memo and they said, this guy is full of crap. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And they threw it in the garbage. They famously threw it into the garbage.
Wow.
And everybody found out about that later on. And the FBI official who actually did that physically was later reassigned or something. But that memo could have, if the government and the FBI had paid attention to it, absolutely could have prevented 9/11. If you read it for yourself, even though the 9/11 Commission said, oh no, that memo didn't have anything that could have prevented 9/11 from happening. No, but it was a lie, because if you actually look at the document, if you read through it, and I don't know how much of it has been declassified to this day, but I think most of it has been declassified and is available. But it shows clearly that 911 could have been evaded, could have been stopped if they had followed this. So anyway, that individual is another example of one of these great Leos, these great law enforcement officers that use their abilities at great risk to themselves, because he really, he was threatened by government officials.
Oh, yeah.
He was for putting this forward. And why is that? Why would that happen? Because something was in the works that the government, there were parts of the government that wanted this operation to go forward. That's my contention.
Oh, that's absolutely. I think that no one in the audience would disagree with you. So I'm going to do a video especially on this, guys, and I'm going to reach out to Kenneth Williams and see if he'd be willing to come on the show, because apparently there have been 28 pages out of I don't know how many hundreds that have been declassified. So, or is it a 28-page memo or totally? I mean, it looks like
I think it's 28 pages total, but it has certain lines blacked out and all that. So I don't know how much has been left unredacted.
It is hundreds of pages. It's just the 28
Really?
out of I mean, because I'm looking at page 415, 416. 417. It looks like this area from the entire memo looks like page 415 on for the next 28 pages or so is what is declassified. The rest of it is still classified. That's awful.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, he's been put through a lot of punishment. So I'm pretty sure he still won't talk about it in public. But he is one of the great unsung heroes of this era, because his abilities are amazing. First of all, and I would say they border on the paranormal as far as how he knows what terrorists are going to do, and the entire government went against him and punished him for exposing their own incompetence as well.
That's the thing about bureaucracy. It encourages incompetence, and it punishes people who want to go ahead and shake the tree and make things better. Baby Love 78 says cops that have that kind of a second job shouldn't wear a badge. Now we've got our first caller on the line. It's X2 Group. X2, go ahead and unmute.
What's going on, Red? Thank you.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thank you for being here. What's your question or comment for John DeSouza?
Well, John, I wish I had heard that story in the academy. My first summer on the job, I was ceremoniously sent to midnights the summer of 2016 when cops were being assassinated, and
midnights are the worst.
Yeah, it was all right. I had this car. It stood out to me, and I didn't know why. And I kept getting this overwhelming feeling of gun. And yeah, long story short, the guy was sleeping in the car and had a loaded pistol on the front seat. But it's just one of those things. I wish I had heard that story in the academy, and I really feel for the people that are out on the street right now. I'm listening to the scanner traffic out of Minneapolis, and they're telling them the state police and the guard are not available to help them. So prayers for them out there in Minneapolis tonight. What happened was a tragedy. It was murder.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I can't deny that, but the rest of those officers out there are being left out to hang to dry. So.
X2, from what I understand, the National Guard has been deployed, and I did see some video footage of Humvee traffic rolling in there. Are you saying that the National Guard is not yet on the scene?
So if you go and actually listen to the Adjutant General of the Minnesota National Guard today, he really railed for about 5 minutes on the governor of Minnesota. But the big thing now is they didn't want to move them in the cover of darkness. So they came in today at daytime. But even just maybe 30 minutes before you went on the air, I was listening, and they were asking for State Patrol or National Guard assistance because they were having all kinds of stuff thrown at them, and they were being attacked, and they didn't have any resources, and they were told to get in your car and retreat, and that nobody was coming to help them. So.
Oh my gosh,
that's horrible. Just give up the city.
Are you still on the job?
No, I'm out, and I'm doing training in that world now, and it concerns me because I was looking at the use of force policy for that department, and very well could be that he may have been trained in that movement at some point in time. I don't know by whom, but it'll be interesting to see what ultimately happens.
So have you actually seen the manual? Can you attest to what was said earlier, that the knee on the neck was an actual move that they were taught?
So it really talked more about applying pressure and hold techniques to the neck. So that's very intentionally vague.
Yeah.
What you have to understand from a local PD perspective is that, say, for example, an officer has been on for 20 years and they've been trained to use the PR-24 nightstick. A new person coming on might have been trained in a collapsible baton and would not be allowed to carry the nightstick, but the older officer who was trained in it is allowed to keep it. So at one point in time, that department may very well have trained that movement. That officer has been on for 20 years or so. So it's possible that he might have been trained in it, and it may have been department sanctioned. And if that's the case, he'll have that defense to fall back on.
Oh, that's a shame.
No, I can't see under any circumstances that could be taught as a method in any manual or any police department anywhere in the United States. I just can't. I cannot see that. Even in the FBI, they train us in non-lethals with Kubotans. those metal sticks.
Mm-hmm.
They're essentially metal sticks and pipes, and they train us how to use those, how to subdue people with them, and they always drill into us, but you can never strike the middle of the body, the neck.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot strike the neck. That's a fatal move. That's a lethal move. If you strike the neck, if you strike the groin, even if you strike the chest area, you're not supposed to do this at any time. So that's something that's drilled into us over and over again. So I just can't see any PD teaching any ultimate fighting moves like that. Even the Krav Maga methods, I don't see them teaching that sort of thing.
Well, to both of you, John and X2, I mean, this could point to a larger issue specifically within the Minneapolis Police Department. If he was taught this, absolutely an important thing to teach your officers to do. But I mean, I'm immediately recalling the case from just a couple years ago where a mother of two, I believe she had called the police. I don't remember exactly what the situation was, but I remember at the time thinking how incredible it was. And the responding officer, I believe he executed her behind her home. There was absolutely no reason for it to happen. I believe she was a naturopath, if I'm not mistaken. And I saw some coverage bringing that back up earlier today. But, just what I'm suggesting is perhaps there is a larger issue with excessive force being taught within that department.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that department has a long-standing history. It's public record, obviously. Obviously, Amy Klobuchar is coming under fire now because of the fact that she was the prosecutor at a time when this officer was brought up on other charges. But the biggest thing that people don't realize is that there is no standard of training across the board for police officers, which is the reason why it's pretty much impossible to port your certification from one place to another. You sort of have to go through the whole show all over again and start over from the bottom. So, yeah, I mean, it's just it's really a shame to see what's happening, and I feel like I should be out there, but my mom just had a heart attack, so she's pretty glad I'm not. So
well, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope she's okay.
She's a dedicated listener, Red, and I appreciate your audience, and prayers for the entire country here, because this doesn't appear to be getting any better anytime soon.
Yeah, definitely. Well, X2, prayers for your mother and her speedy recovery as well. Thank you both for watching, and I really appreciate that you called in tonight.
Thanks so much. Take care, guys.
We'll talk to you.
Thank you, XT.
All right, awesome. Perfect caller to start it out. Let's go ahead and see. We've got Tony. Totally T. Good stuff, Tony. We haven't talked to you here for a minute. Let me just say also that Robin Tepfer says, my sister and I came home to my dark farmhouse on a dirt road after the bar. We both talked in the car, not wanting to go in. Something's wrong, I said. She thought so too. We never got out of the car. We went to the cop shop, and they came right over at 2 a.m., and now the light on the back of the porch was on. The cops found scratch marks. If we would have went in, we would have walked right into him. So there was an intruder in the home. Okay, well, definitely glad that didn't go the other direction. Tony, are you there?
Got to listen to your intuition.
Yeah, most definitely. All right. Tony.
Oh, I'm here.
Hey, Tony, there you are.
I surprised myself.
Awesome. Good to see you, Tony. Thank you for calling.
Usually, yeah, it's great. And usually I just call in on my phone, and so this is a different thing for me. I don't know. I'm going to call in my co-host on my show, and if there's feedback, I'll immediately get her off. But let's see if this works. This is great. John, let me tell you, I watch you all the time. I don't care where you're on. In Edge of Wonder, saw you on the last one too. I don't miss anything that you do.
Oh, thank you so much, Tony of Totally T.
You're so valuable.
Thank you.
You don't miss John DeSouza. That's what I say. Anita, are you there? She's not there. Okay. So I have a channel, and I'm not here to promote my channel, so I don't even need to say who I am.
Okay.
But John, like Red Pill, here's the thing. Everybody needs to know, and we have been censored one way, this way, that way, all the way. I don't remember who it was in Red Pill, Zach, if that's your real name.
It could be not, you know.
It may not be. I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
Zach is okay.
Your RP to RP 78 to me.
Yeah, and that's fine. Everybody, don't feel like you have to say Zach. I like RP. I like Red Pill. So,
you know, if I were your mother,
Tony and Zach, Tony and Zach, I'm just if I could,
Tony, hold on just a second.
For 1 second. I'm getting a notification that all of them were arrested.
All the police officers.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So just
really.
So just that apparently that just happened just now.
All right.
So.
Well, I'll see what coverage I can pull up.
So go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, Tony, continue.
Wow, that's good information. So, RP, Zach, whoever you are, and to Edge of Wonder, I know Ben is watching now too. Oh my gosh, we've got this censorship problem going on. But Anita and I have been actually working on a side project, which we don't really talk about publicly. Zach, you and I have talked about this. We're 1 week away. 1 week.
From it completely
with
being
a social media, which I never told you about before. But we also have a social media platform as well. Okay. So we need to get together. I would like to have you and Methods alone.
Okay.
Just us. But I think John DeSouza, especially, and
I can come too.
Wonder needs to be on. They need to look at this because this way we can get our information out there. It's not censored. And why I say Edge of Wonder is because I know John and I know you, Zach, have watched their stuff. We have to give kudos to them when they come to educational. You remember RP when I called in and said, who is going to educate the kids?
We talked about that. I could see them having a little Red Pill for Kids show.
Because the way that they educate, and when I continually watch them, it's like it's laid out. It's like this is not taught. Ben, Dimples, I'm talking to you, Dimples. This is not really taught in school. And I think that parents need to educate their children as to history and where we've been before, where we're at now, and where we're going. They don't have that, and I think Rob and Ben are really, really good on that. I have to say, I don't agree with everything that Red Pill comes out with SGT Report, with Edge of Wonder, but does it really matter? No, it doesn't. We need to take in the information and we need to decide for ourselves. We need to awaken our critical thinking. And Red Pill, I love the people that you have on your show. I don't miss a show. I don't know if I've ever missed a show since I've started watching you.
That's awesome. Thank you.
But here's the thing is we have a platform that's ready. I heard, what was it, just like 2 or 3 days ago, I don't know who it was that called in, Zach, that said she had been on Twitter for 3 weeks and then she was deleted. Do you remember her?
I mean, I vaguely remember the conversation, but I don't know who it was.
Yeah, it was somebody on the call in. I was like, oh, I need to call in, but you know, I needed to know exactly where we were on the stream of time. There is a platform ready, but what she said was exactly the truth. She said, we need somebody that is a patriot.
Mm-hmm.
We need somebody that can put up the funds. And you had said that too. Well, that's going to take, you know, millions of, we're ready. We're
Good.
ready for that. So, you know how you and I communicate.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get together here in a couple of days. I know your weekend is really busy, and you need a Monday off.
Yes.
You need a
I
Monday
do.
off. I heard you say that, and,
Yeah.
and I'm really proud of you for that, because you do need that.
Thank you.
So let's schedule something for next week.
Okay.
And if you want to invite Methods, John DeSouza,
Yes.
Edge of Wonder, whatever, because you know what? We got to get the truth out. We got to we have a way, but people just don't know what it is yet. So we need to get that out there. And that's really all I have to say. Because I know if Red Pill and Methods, John DeSouza, Ben and Rob are like, you know what, here it is. And here's our, whatever you want to call it, your backup channel, whatever you want. We actually have that. I work with the one who's developed this platform, and I know that he would want to talk to you personally. He's already called it out. It was like, when we're talking about fake news,
Mm-hmm.
he's already called out fake news on this. He's
Cool.
ready for you guys, and he wants you guys over here. So
Well, I will do.
get back with me.
Yeah, I will do on my end to wrangle these people together, and it'll have to be in the evening, you know, like after 8 Eastern Standard Time, so like either Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. But I will, I'll reach out specifically, and we'll put it together.
Yeah, John, are you in?
Yes. I heard that something about you have millions of dollars. So yes, that's what I
Well,
heard.
if someone has the mind and the heart to say, hey, we need a platform that's not censored, so we don't have to worry about it.
Absolutely.
I think we're all in,
That's
actually.
important. There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most
But
definitely.
John, thank you so much for being accepting Red Pill's invitation, because you're very valuable. You're very valuable. I never miss a show.
Thank you.
If John
Tony.
DeSouza's on it, I'm listening.
Thank you. Tony.
Awesome.
That's so
Awesome.
nice
Okay.
of you.
Thank you so much, Zach. We'll
No
talk to you
problem,
soon.
Tony. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
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 And,
All right.
And
So,
Zach,
yeah.
they were not arrested.
Fake news.
Fake news. It was somebody sending me a message about the whole CNN crew.
Oh,
Apparently,
okay.
they were all arrested and they are in custody, I guess. So
Wow.
they were sending me a message about them, about that.
Okay. All right. Gino Revan says, I don't always remember to smack that like button without Methods reminding me, so here's some money. Great show. Thank you. Yes, please, everyone, if you haven't yet, consider hitting that like button. And even when you're done, oh, this is why I'm not seeing chats, you guys. It switched from live chat to top chat.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
But yeah, please, guys, like, share, make sure you're subscribed. I get people every day telling me that they've been unsubscribed, that every single day they have to go resubscribe. So if you can just check it out and make sure that you are, I really appreciate it. Also, Baby Yoda said Strategic Air Command was shut down on that terrible day in September of 2001. Chris Holmes says riots are going to be the new COVID. Soros is carting them all over. That's right. Aaron Franks wants to know what I'm vaping. In one of my vapors, I have Juice Head Pineapple Grapefruit. That's probably my go-to. I also have Juice Head Blueberry Lemonade. And then I have Wet Liquids Raspberry Orange. These three are my top flavors, and I always have a vape or a stick with those in them. So obviously all on their own. You know, I don't mix them up. We've got Dr. Anita next. She'll be coming in here in just a second. Dr. Anita. God, we need you to mute the stream in the background, Dr. Anita.
Mute your stream, please.
All right, give me a nod when your stream is muted, so I can unmute you.
And then unmute yourself, and then put your dog on a collar, please. On a leash, please.
Hey Jude said Hannity was reporting that the National Guard had to retreat. And Son of a Green Card says, I know I'm probably going to get some hate for saying this, but a knee on the chest, pressure on the heart, or a knee on the neck is an old-timer trapper's way of subduing what they've caught without ruining the pelt. Okay, yeah. I mean, obviously that's something that can be used. Dr. Anita, is your stream muted? You're good? Okay. All right. There we go.
Okay,
all
great.
Right.
Well, good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Hello, Dr.
I just want to
Anita.
say, John, Dinesh, are you related to Dinesh DeSouza?
Oh, no, I wish. He's a good friend of mine. But,
Yeah, he's an acquaintance of mine as well.
Oh, he's wonderful. He's great.
Yeah.
A great historian about hidden history.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Let's just say that he's lived history.
Yes.
His life is written history. I just want to say that my involvement with our professional protection staff of the world. I'm married to a military man, and I've worked with local protection very closely. I have a lot of respect for that. I also understand that not everything is as it appears.
Mm-hmm.
I've also done work as an EMT, and I have to say that what I observed was a bit unconventional, because normally they would be checking vitals and things like that. I understand the situation was a bit tense, but normally when they take somebody and put them in the ambulance like that, they could be just in a slight coma. And so things would be almost undetectable on the ground. The fact they didn't check any vitals on the ground, didn't try to stabilize the patient, just a few pieces missing for this girl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let me go to the next subject that's a hot button on my world. As we have all these young millennials with this contact tracer thing, right? Okay, so let me talk about the scenario on this, John. So you're a police officer, right? And you're out there doing your thing, and all of a sudden you bring in a suspect that now is testing positive. So they're gonna isolate you for 10 days, right?
Right.
And if you don't have just one bathroom in your house that no dog or anyone could actually come into for 10 days, now we've got to take you somewhere else. You get out after the 10 days, you go back to your job, and somebody else you come in contact with, where do you go? Back into quarantine for 10 days, but you can't go home with your family and your dog. Do you see how ludicrous this is?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
And then, what about you put a suspect in your car? Are we going to quarantine every police officer that may have had the wrong app on their phone, or somebody claimed that they were around them? Because I'm in your, don't be in my phone if you're going to load that flipping app.
Something tells me that they're not going to be quarantining police officers. I mean, the people they're interested in tracking is just the average everyday people. I mean, what they're going to do is take the statistics from that app. If let's say they have a heavily Republican leaning area, and they say, give me all that data, and then we're going to go through and we will quarantine 2/3 of the popular vote. And there you go. Problem solved for November.
Yes, and you went to Disneyland. I have to tell you at this point, some of the conversations that I've had in the last recent moments of life are showing that even with Disneyland and SeaWorld and places like that opening, let's just say executives do not know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, what do we do? And also, I was listening to a conversation today. Did you hear the president speak on that impromptu conversation?
Where he pulled out of the World Health Organization?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Hong Kong is just not in good standing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing about that is that we have executives from major air carriers, as we, quote, try to open the world up again, John. Have you ever experienced TSA at an airport?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, I'm just waiting for the cavity search, and I'm a doctor. Okay? I'm real scary. And so the deal is, you're going through TSA, and you might be packing because why? Because you have a reason to be. But now you got to have your temperature taken. And now they're going to be maybe looking for a little card that says, your report card.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you get your report card done? Who's going to be doing that? And they're already turned into, I know way more about that because I was an executive with one of those flying companies.
Well, I mean, when it comes down to it, Dr. Need, I think that the whole point is to do everything possible to grind the country to a halt. You know, it's now too inconvenient to fly, so people are just not going to do it. They're going to know that there's no way they're going to get through this stuff in a timely fashion. They know that if they go outside, they're going to be contact traced with that application. They know that there are so many things stacked against them. It's all designed to keep people indoors and to stop them from going out, so that we have to do what? Mail-in voting. And then right there, we know. It's all about the election when it comes down to it.
So, red pill or Zach, as totally said. Think about now, our children who are of impressionable ages, they're seeing all this going on. They're being told once again, because I remember I was young back in the days when there was rioting because of racial issues back in, gosh, I was young, but they actually, there was riots in high schools. They were scalping blonde girls like myself in the schools. I mean, I was young, my brothers and sisters were teenagers. And so I was very aware of it. I was seeing all this stuff going on. And today that memory just came back. Now think about the little people in our world. They're going to go back to what? School with what? Plastic hanging and tape and now we have a directional thing. I can tell you I have associates in Australia. They opened the schools over there. They set the desks a little bit apart. I'm not sure exactly in the Metroplex here where I live how they're going to put 35 chairs 6 feet apart in one of those classrooms. I can't wait to see it. I want to take pictures. And then we're going to wrangle kindergartners, third grades, second grades, and they can't touch anyone. They can't be within 6. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But these kids are like sitting in circles. Have you seen that?
It's all just another form of programming. I mean, they're going to get these kids young, and then hopefully they're going to be able to program them to be exactly how they want. Well, listen, Dr. Anita, we've only got 18 minutes left, so I appreciate you calling in. Have a wonderful evening.
And I will see you next week.
Yes, we will. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, I want to try to get as many callers in before the end of the hour as possible. We've got Denise coming up next.
D-nice.
Yes, my UK correspondent. Cue the music says rioting in Brooklyn, and de Blasio asks maintain social distancing. Just not possible.
During the rioting.
Chris Hawkins says, I'm late. What? John DeSouza, thank God for the Wayback Machine. No, the thing is, Chris, you're actually in the future. Okay, this is yet another show with John. And Bella Ritto says, Soros is busing the BLM into each state protesting. Same as 2017 hands up protests, lockdown of cities, narrative to deflect from the Flynn phone call D-class. Wait for the pow-pows to start the next FF. Yeah, that's another thing that we haven't touched on yet, John, but the actual transcripts of the Flynn-Kislyak phone calls were released today. First official act of incoming ODNI Representative John Ratcliffe, but I guess no longer a representative. But Denise, are you there? No, we're still waiting for her to jump on the line.
D-nice.
Yeah, but...
Mute your stream. Put your dog on a leash.
Yes, okay. Yes. We never have to worry about Denise having the stream going in the background. She knows what's going on. Well, listen, it looks like she's having some issues perhaps with her mic, so we'll just go to the next caller here.
Worry about Denise having the stream going in the back.
This caller does have their stream going, so caller, go ahead and mute your stream, and I'm going to unmute you. Caller, mute your YouTube stream. Mute your YouTube stream. This is, everything that's happening, it smacks of a similar flavor, this is the kind of thing that we've seen before. And I think that now that we've gone through this a couple of times, I feel like this is a part of the Great Awakening. I mean, people can look at the telltale signs and they can say, you know what, I know exactly what's taking place right now. And we had that post about George where earlier today, where he stated specifically that he wanted to destroy America, the destruction of America. I don't exactly remember the wording from it. But I do believe that we are in a position now where something might actually happen to George Soros. Denise, are you there?
I'm here.
Welcome to the program. What's going on?
Yes. Hello, John, the X-Man cometh.
Hey, Denise.
Okay. Can I just have a bit of a rant? It won't take long, promise.
Go ahead, do it.
Go
Lay
ahead.
it on us.
There's been a lot of comments around Twitter and Facebook, etc., and in here in the chat, re a new King of England. There is no new King of England.
I have been getting messages ad nauseum telling me about that. Yes, continue.
Yeah, there is no King of England, and even if there was, it wouldn't be him because he actually has an older brother. So the older brother would be first in line. This man, his family are also sending out messages saying that he has mental problems.
Oh.
So he isn't a King of England. Buckhouse is boarded up because they're doing repairs inside while it's a skeleton crew in there. The Gurkhas are standing in because the Blues and Royals don't have to be on duty all the time. They're usually only there when the Queen's there. She's in Windsor Palace. The seal missing off the gate is because the lorry backed into the one gate and damaged that seal, but the seal's on the other gate because it's a double gate. So the seal hasn't been taken down because the Queen's no longer the Queen. And I think that just about covers it.
John, are you familiar with this story? There is apparently a man who just recently became aware of the fact that he is the rightful heir to the throne. Regardless of his lineage.
Is it Donald Trump?
No, no, that would be awesome. But regardless of his lineage, let's say that he has figured out that he is part of this family that's supposed to be ruling. Good luck enforcing whatever that is, because I don't see Queen Elizabeth and her kin as giving up the throne to the UK. I mean, it's something that I've been just getting a ton of messages about. I mean, this guy, whoever he is working overtime to get this this story out and to say that he's the king, and people are hey, we should talk about this.
Yeah, wow. Well, it's definitely fake news.
Yeah.
And it's been doing my head in all day. Well, for the past couple of days, red pill.
I can understand. I mean, it's going to affect you a lot more directly than us.
Yeah. But brilliant news about Trump signing the executive order, Twitter, Facebook, etc.
Yes.
Yeah. And cutting off the World Health Organization.
It's been another week of booms for sure.
Has been.
Absolutely.
And China didn't want, Hong Kong didn't. We had Britain, UK had the lease on China until sometime in the 1990s. Was it 97? And the lease ran out, and China said they wanted it back. They wouldn't renew it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Hong Kong had had their say, they wanted to stay with the UK. They wouldn't be in the mess that's coming at them now from China, that's for sure. Anyway, that was it. I just wanted to have a rant. Say hello, John. Lovely to see you.
Thank
and I
you,
will
Denise.
be buying your books.
Awesome.
Hey, and just if you go through the link in the description and use the code FBI, you're buying directly from John. Plus, you're going to get 20% off because you're a viewer of Red Pill 78.
Do I get an extra 20% because I'm a sweet little English girl?
John will have to work that one out with you.
Yeah. As long as you guard us from the royal family, you're doing a great job.
Okie dokie.
All right,
night
Denise.
Then.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So, obviously, I'm going to have to do some research on exactly what this story means. I see people in the chat are saying that he truly is the rightful heir to the English throne. I saw like a couple of minutes from a video, but you know, I honestly, I mean, because I'm not British, I didn't, I guess, pay all that much attention to it. A lot of people pay attention to the royals. I don't pay that much attention to the royals, but that's just me. You know, I'm focused on American politics, but also
Zach, the things that you get notifications about are amazing to me. Absolutely amazing. Wow.
It is a broad spectrum. Caller, you're on the line. Can we get your name?
Hi, Zach. This is Patriot Lady Biker.
Patriot Lady Biker, what's up?
Nice.
Well, I'm doing well.
Good.
I want to let everybody know I'm in physical therapy now and out of the hospital, infection free. So, yeah.
Nice.
I just wanted to call in and say hello and hello to John.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I'm going to definitely get your book.
Awesome. Thank you, Lady Biker.
And I want to say hi to Ben from The Edge. I know he's on. And I don't want to forget Red Pill mom and girlfriend.
Yes.
Hello, and all of my fellow patriots out there.
All right. Hey,
I don't have, there's a book. I don't have a lot to say about the current topic, politics. As much as I love to follow politics, I am getting disgusted, you know,
Sure.
ad nauseum with all the bad stuff that's going on right now. And
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to sit back and take a break a little bit from it.
Well,
try to be happy.
Just keep in mind that part of everything that we're seeing take place is they want you to only focus on these negative aspects of what's happening. You know, today was a tremendous victory with the revealing and the declassification of the Flynn Kislyak transcript. We're one step closer to getting justice, not only for General Flynn, but for President Trump and for the American people. So I want you to just remember that they want you to focus on this negative stuff. So you don't have to. You can sit back, just keep remembering all of the wonderful things that have happened just recently. This week, we've had some incredible things take place. And, you know, to be honest with you, I know exactly what you mean. It is difficult to not look around and see the horrible aspects of the world. And that is a big part of the reason why I try to put forth the vibe that I do, the way that I talk about these things. You know, this is right. This is a hopeless world for a lot of people, and I want people to be able to watch my show and realize that that's not true. There is so much good out there, so many good people, and that us collectively, the work that we're doing, we're going to be setting not only, you know, humanity in America, but, you know, across the globe. We're setting people free, and we're taking our country and our world back. So that's what I want to focus on.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Just try to be happy. Go about your life. I'm not worried about the virus anymore. I refuse to wear a mask.
Good.
We're just trying to live and not concentrate on, you know, the negative.
Excellent.
I wanted to tell you, I have a Q-coin I want to send to you.
Oh, sweet.
And either you can keep it or try to raffle it off to one of the viewers. It's up to you.
Awesome. I'm sure I'll be very pleased to get it, and I'll show it on the air. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you're doing better.
Nice.
Great. Thank you. I am. All right. I'll see everybody.
All right. Have a great night.
You, Patriot. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Awesome. Wow. I'm glad she called in. Oh, Floyd standing for the 4th. Good stuff. He'll be calling in. And thank you just to everybody who has liked and shared the broadcast. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. It's been a great show. John, thank you so much for coming back on the program. I love it every single time you're on. But Floyd is on the line. What's up, Floyd? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, but man, I'm hearing everybody use George Floyd's last name. Oh my goodness, dude! And it literally reminded me because I live in the area where the Green River Killer used to do all his stuff.
Oh no!
I can't remember, but there was one night that the broadcast came across that he had killed a lady by the name of Carol Green.
Mm.
The crazy part was my adopted mother, her name was Carol Green, and she was out on the town that night with her friends. And I was just like, please stop doing this.
Oh, man.
Killing me.
That would be nerve-wracking. Oh, man, I'm so glad that it wasn't what you thought it was initially.
I know, but it's just like, you know, being a 22-year military veteran with combat tour and everything else like that, you know, 26 March of 03 to 28 March of 04,
Mm-hmm.
you know, seeing stuff like that, it's just like, wow. But at the same time, yeah, I gotta agree. Seeing all the different videos and stuff like that, and I gotta agree with Mr. DeSouza there. Dude, that is not a normally practiced technique, not even for the military.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's really not, but it's just wow. And yeah, it's starting, especially with all the research I've been doing, it's starting to get me to a point where I'm looking at it kind of going, no, this is definitely a setup.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to bait a race and a civil war within the United States just to make us crumble. But as far as I can tell, we Americans, yeah, it may take a little bit, but once you get us to a certain point, yeah, we're not falling for the stupid stuff no more.
Good.
No.
Good. That's excellent.
But yeah, I had to give you just the tiniest little bit of grief about the whole last thing.
It's well deserved. It's well deserved, Floyd.
I'm gonna make this last little part short, and I gotta admit, this is the first time I've seen Mr. DeSouza.
Mm-hmm.
Forgive me, I can't remember your first name, but
John.
I'm gonna call you Mr. How about I just call you Mr. X-Man?
There you go.
I like that one better. All right, but I grabbed a hold of your link. I'm gonna try and get the book as soon as I possibly can. Yeah, I'm gonna read that bad boy. And then
it's good.
Red Pill, Mr. X-Man, you guys do some absolutely wonderful work. And by the way, Red Pill, I never missed a single episode of Quarantine.
Thanks, dude.
One of the greatest shows while I was at work, and it was one of the very few things that actually helped keep me sane from all the stupidity from the city I work in, Kirkland, Washington, where the original Kung Flu virus started at.
Wow. Well, Floyd, I can't tell you how much that means to me, and I'm glad that we accomplished our goal. I mean, that was exactly what we sought out to do. So, you know, it was a wild ride. I absolutely loved every moment of it. And, you know, we decided to change it over to something else, you know, because we knew that it had a shelf life. It was only going to be for so long. But it's definitely something I'm going to look back on. Oh, yeah, good. I'm glad. Are you liking the new format?
It's a little bit different. Kills my phone data because I'm at work while you're doing it, but kills my phone data. But you know what? I don't mind that. You guys are worth it. You and Methods are worth it.
Thanks, dude.
Nice.
Hey, no. Thank you, man.
Appreciate
it.
No.
Thank
through
you.
These hard times.
No.
Yeah. Well, Floyd, as always, thank you for your service, buddy, and thank you for calling in. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
great
Floyd.
night, guys.
All right, man.
You're
Peace.
welcome, Mr. X-Man.
Thanks. Awesome.
All right, we'll see you. All right, guys. Well, we are down to the final 2 minutes. So, John, I just want to say once again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your perspective on all these issues. And please, do tell the audience one more time the best way that they can get a hold of you. We've got links in the bio, but I want you to, say it so that it sticks in the mind.
I hardly got to say anything. Is it a hard stop here? What's going on?
You want to keep going?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
well, let's...
I mean, if we can.
We can. I think that the audience will appreciate it. I'm going to give you the floor, John. You can say whatever you want.
Okay, listen. I wanted to tell this story because for the police officer X2 from before, I wanted to tell her this story and any other police officers that may be listening. And this is from the Para-Investigators. It's a very, very famous story. And if X2 is still listening, I'd like her to write in that if she knows this story, because it's very famous. It's called The Red Shirt, and it's very relevant to right now with the riots and everything.
Mm-hmm.
There was a female police officer who was driving in an unmarked police vehicle. and she was driving, and she hit, and she's in an urban area, and there's this corner with a knot of young urban gentlemen who are trading drugs and money and doing stuff back and forth. And she actually stopped her vehicle like maybe 100 yards short of that corner, and she stops. She starts looking at them. And then suddenly they see her unmarked vehicle, and like many savvy criminals, they knew right away that she was a police officer. And this knot of like maybe 15 young urban gentlemen disperse immediately. They say, "It's a cop! It's a cop!" And they disperse immediately in all different directions. She gets on her radio, and she says this. She says, and this case is also taught at police academies. She says on her radio, because there's other police in the perimeter. They're in the perimeter doing some kind of operation. So she gets on her radio and she says, the one who's in the red shirt, he's got a gun. Get that one. And sure enough, a couple of cops come from around the corner who are working on something else, and they tackle this young man who's in the big baggy red shirt, and they tackle him, and they actually find a gun in his pocket that they're able to extract very carefully. They ultimately run tests on it, and it is linked to 2 murders in the area, in the immediate area. Now, then she then comes forward to her sergeant, and the sergeant says, because they want to preserve the gun as good evidence and so forth, she says, and they say to her, "How did you know? There was no way you could have seen." They all had very baggy clothing on, baggy pants, baggy shirts. There was no way you could have known that he had a gun. What was it? How did you know that? And there's rumors that maybe he was an informant of hers that's gone bad and decided to turn him in. And she told the sergeant, "Look, I just got a feeling. I got a download. I had a vision that I knew he had a gun. I could see that gun in his pocket." And somehow, in my mind, not physically, but in my mind.
The download.
So the sergeant took her aside and said, "Okay, don't ever repeat that to anybody in the world, okay?" And then he told her the correct language that she had to use in order for that gun to be preserved as good evidence for these murder charges to go forward. And he told her, "You have to say, due to my knowledge, skills, and experience in this area and the type of traffic that goes on in this corner at a regular basis, I was able to surmise from the clues and the actions of the actors in this area that I felt it was very likely that this particular individual was most likely armed.
Sure.
According to my reasonable suspicion." And so they were able to re-educate her on how to talk about these things and how to say these things correctly so that evidence could be preserved. And that's what she did. And it was a very successful prosecution. And that is another story that is taught at police academies because it really happened and it was really crazy.
That's fascinating. Now, when you yourself went through the FBI Academy, are these stories that you were taught yourself, or did you only learn these after kind of having your own intuitive experiences?
Yes, it was after having my own intuitive experiences, and I started collecting these stories and being told and being given all of these stories so that I could then use these stories and help spread them around to people that could understand what these officers go through. These officers that are good officers and that actually put themselves out on the line to help people, sometimes with extraordinary abilities that they have to kind of keep hidden, sort of.
Now, is this the kind of thing that law enforcement officers will openly discuss amongst themselves? I mean, and then because I mean, this is obviously, you are the first law enforcement officer that I've ever spoken to about these things. So, so please, how is it?
No, they do not speak of these things openly general population, so to speak. But they will speak to someone like me, someone who has a reputation already for dealing with the paranormal, dealing with supernatural topics. And so they will find a person like me, like a laser beam, and they will regale me with these extraordinary stories of what has happened to them. I had a young lady. It's in the Para Investigators. A young lady with a story called "Throw It Down." She was actually an FBI. She was actually attached to an FBI squad, FBI task force, and they went into an apartment that was a second floor apartment, and they put her in the back. Rookie always gets to be put in the back to cover the back entrance. Well, in this case, the back entrance was a second floor window that opened up to a fire escape. And they gave her the shotgun, and they said, while we break in the front, you just watch that window, and you just watch if anybody comes running out of that window down the fire escape, you just get them. And so she stood out there. It was like her first few months in the actually it was the FBI. She was actually first few months in the FBI. She was very nervous, and she watched that window, and she heard all the banging as the main task force went in the front door. She heard all of it, and she was watching that window intently to see if anybody came flying out of that window. And she had her shotgun ready, and then suddenly she felt a shadow pass over her.
Oh, wow.
And there was a young man in a wife beater shirt, and he had the drop on her because he had a freaking cannon pointed right at her face. She turned around, and she was just frozen there for a second. And then she realized he was looking up at the same window that she was looking up at sideways. And she realized he came to actually climb in that window, not come out of that window. That's what it looks like. And then at that moment, she heard in her mind, she heard the words, "Throw it down." And she heard very loud in the back of her head. And she kept on looking at the young man to see if he was moving his lips. He was frozen with the gun right on her. And then she heard it again, "Throw it down." And she didn't know what was happening. And then a third time she heard, "Throw it down." And her arms dropped the shotgun to the ground, like involuntary reflex, like it was not even connected with her mind. And the young man who had the gun on her, it was like he just woke up. He just kind of woke up. He threw the gun into his baggy pockets, and he turned around and he ran out of there, out of the alleyway as fast as she ever saw anybody disappear. He was gone.
Was he telepathically controlling her to get her to throw the gun down?
That's an excellent question, because that's what she asked me. She actually told me about this incident. And when she did, she had tears in her eyes because it was a traumatic event for her. She said she didn't know why this voice came out to her, or why she listened to it, or why she threw her gun down. But she was concerned she was going to be fired because she did this. So she grabbed her shotgun up, and she went up to the main project where everyone was, and she saw no one had this young man on a chart. He was not one of the people that was wanted. So she felt a little better about that, but she never told anybody about this incident. Because she would be branded a coward. She would be branded, and she would be given all kinds of problems. So she never really told anybody about this incident until she told me. And then I was able to tell her, no. That voice was not coming from the young man. That voice was like your higher self. It was an entity that helps you, that comes to you in times of crisis.
Like a guardian angel.
Yeah, like a guardian angel. As a matter of fact, I wrote a whole other book about it called The Clear Hearers.
Wow.
And it also has many experiences in it, like that one that this young lady had. And I told her, and like I said, she had tears in her eyes, and I was able to reassure her and tell her, listen, this was not an act of cowardice on your part, because she had a tremendous amount of guilt over it. And I told her, no, when this great voice comes to us, because I've seen many of these experiences in law enforcement where people are in a crisis situation and suddenly a great voice comes to them to tell them how to solve it and how to get out of it. And it's always the same. It's always this amazing voice that comes out, sometimes from the back of their head, sometimes it comes from their chest, but it comes from somewhere. And it helps them. It saves their lives. And I told her, the great voice came to you because it sees further than what you see. And if you had not done what you did, there are probably a lot of lives would have been lost, not just yours. And the source of the great voice can see that. And that's why it commanded you to throw it down. And that's what you did. And you did the right thing, I told her. And that was good.
That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Danielle Battelle says, "Hey, John, you liked 4 of my tweets. LOL. I was so stoked and read it's battle like fight. LOL. And read it's battle like fight. Okay, battle. Danielle Battle. LOL. I love you both. Never miss these live streams where we go one, we go all. Thank you, Danielle. Chef Dan says, keep going, John. Don't stop. Chris Hawkins says, I really like the 14 thumbs down. Thank you for blessing us with your time. We love you and welcome you. Let my brothers bring you up to speed. Okay, all right. And then Lisa Wareham says, been hanging out with RP78 and the awesome Patriots here for the last couple of years. This is my news now. Blessings all. John, rewatched season 1, episode 1 of the X-Files after seeing you talk about it. What a fun job you had. And John, I actually saw someone in the chat mention, why do we...
Wait a second.
Who said
we're
going to clarify. Episode
1 was torture. I was tortured. That's not right.
So I saw at least one person in the chat ask why we refer to you as the real-life X-Man. So, John, let's just pretend that everybody here is only coming across you for the first time. I mean, what is that?
In the 90s, I was in the very early 90s. I was in the FBI, and I got involved with a lot of paranormal cases through a series of incidences. And a lot of these cases were what we call off the book cases, things that never really made it into FBI files. And so I kept a notebook. Of these cases where I wrote everything that happened. Well, later on, and actually this started in the 80s, and then later on, that book was taken. It was my OTB book, off the books sketchbook, and it was taken. And it was taken by a couple of these FBI agents who retired to Hollywood to become consultants on television shows. And I very strongly suspect that they took my book and they were able to get it with Chris Carter, who made the first season of the X-Files. And many of those cases came from my sketchbook. And also, FBI brass recognized the same thing because they called Chris Carter on the carpet after that first season, and he talks about this today. He was interrogated by them as to who was giving him information about those cases and what was going on with that. And he said he got the feeling they were going to shut down his show. Well, I was at the other end of that call also. That conference call as well, and they were questioning me about that and how, was I giving information to Chris Carter? I was able to say no, because when you're in the FBI, you can't lie; you have to tell the truth.
Sure.
So I had to. That's actually a real saying. That's a real thing. So I did tell them that no, I did not. I did not have contact with Chris Carter. He was not getting case information from me, and. Chris Carter was he said to them, well, tell me more about these episodes that you're questioning, and I'll try to track down how I got the information for those episodes. and the brass was finally, they just said, okay, never mind. Everybody just go back to your corners. Let's forget this ever happened. And you can continue your show, and we'll just pretend that this never happened. And so that's what happened. And I think that I think that the first season of the X-Files was the best, actually.
I think most people would say that, yeah.
Yeah. And the others were pretty good also, but I don't think they were at the level of that first season. So, and that's why after that incident, after I got called in by the FBI, the other FBI agents started telling me I had been demoted from G-Man to X-Man, and they called me the X-Files guy, or the X-Man for short. And that was how I got that name.
Are you ever going to be? Will there ever have enough time that has passed that you'll be able to specifically talk about cases that you've been involved with? Because I know that when we had first met, you had said that you couldn't go into detail on these specific cases, and I didn't know if that was just a professional courtesy, or if there is a statute of limitations on information.
No, and the answer to your question is yes. I will be able to give out all the information about my cases, but I'm going to have to just label it fiction. That's the only way I can do it.
Okay.
That's how I will ultimately do it, because that's the same way the X-Files did it.
Right.
So I will do it eventually, and I will have to label it as fiction. It's the only way to do it.
Well, John, did you have any other stories that you specifically wanted to tell us tonight?
Oh my gosh, I have so many. I have so many. But let me ask you this: do you ever? Maybe I'm thinking of, quite frankly, do you ever have like a night where you do scary stories?
Oh yeah, we've done it here a couple of times. Yeah, we've had. Yeah.
Okay, because I'd like to be included in that one time.
I'd
like because I have a lot of stories that are, well, they're scary. I mean, that's the only way to say it. And they're really kind of a different category, and there has to be warnings, I think, to people who will listen to this stuff, because sometimes I've taken these stories out, the scary ones, to people in conferences, and I've gotten. Sometimes I've gotten complaints that they weren't ready. They weren't ready for this stuff.
Well, we'll schedule that after we get off the stream, because I would absolutely love to have our next Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark episode with you, sir, for sure.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome. And it doesn't have to be just me. I mean, but I would like to be, scary story milieu sort of.
We'll do a round table. I mean, that's what we do. We'll have generally I have a couple of people here on the line, and then we'll also have some people call in. Let's see. Lisa Wareham, thank you again. Son of a Green Card said, RP John Solomon just said that the White House is locked down. Can you cover or verify that on the air? Link in the DM. It is true. It is true. I did see that before John and I got on the air, and that's what I mentioned about protesters attacking the White House. They have, I guess, swarmed the White House. I did see some images of people attempting to scale buildings on the White House complex. Looks like there is quite a bit of craziness taking place in D.C., but yeah, the White House was locked down. To the best of my knowledge, it probably still is, just considering what's going on. EO2 Dave says, it looks like you're drinking moonshine in that jar, Red Pill. John, don't stop talking. Well, yeah, go ahead. Tell us another story.
It's a good thing that Trump doesn't actually stay at the White House overnight. So, you guys, go jump over the fence, go do whatever you want, because Trump's not really there. And I don't want to say any more than that, because I don't want to compromise his safety. But if anybody thinks that he's really in there overnight, he's not. So don't even think for a second that you're disturbing him, because you're not. I have another story from the para investigators. It is called the Smoothie. It is called the Smoothie, and it is a very it's not scary, but it is crazy, and it is true. It was a little sensitive to tell this story because it was a very historic case in New Jersey. It was a very historic case in New Jersey. But anyway, there was this. But I think they also talk about this case at what do you call academies? At academies. Mm-hmm. Here's what happened. There was a state trooper going down the turnpike, the New Jersey Turnpike. Okay, he was going down the New Jersey Turnpike, and he's just driving in sort of, the traffic was like halfway there and halfway, not too congested. but a little bit congested. He's driving across a turnpike. He's driving through the turnpike, and as far as I can remember, or it may have been it may have been the parkway, the parkway, but it was one of these major roads, and with one of these cement medians going down, dividing like 4 lanes of traffic, and then another 4 lanes of traffic divided from it. And he's driving down, and suddenly he's in the center median, he's in the center lane, and there's another person on the other side in this really nice looking luxury sedan that's it's black, it's very nice new vehicle, and there's a young black man in that vehicle, and he passes by the state troopers vehicle. They pass by each other kind of at a slow rate of speed because traffic is getting a little more crowded here, and they kind of pass each other, and they kind of look at each other, and it's like one of those moments you see at the bar where like you see a special person across the bar and their eyes lock in this eternal moment, and they just feel this love and all this. Well, this was similar to that, because he kind of locked eyes with this young man in the sedan going in the opposite direction, and they kind of looked at each other, but inside of his head, and he saw the young man's lips move, but inside of his head, he heard the words, "Oh shit." This really happened. He heard that loud and clear in his head. He heard that in his car. So he speeds up. He breaks out of there. He speeds up, goes up on the median or the shoulder, whatever, to speed up, get to the nearest crossover, and then come back and chase that car down and pull it over. And he pulls it over, and he pulls out, and he sees this very well-dressed young black man in a suit, dressed immaculately, in hot weather, and the guy is perfectly kempt and dry, and there's nothing in the car except a suitcase. It turns out, so he starts questioning the driver, because he really doesn't have anything. I think he came up with, I thought I saw you swerving in the road, and he didn't say, I heard you say, oh shit. I don't know. Am I allowed to say that? That's what actually happened. So I have to. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah.
But he did say, I thought I saw you get alarmed, and I think you swerved the car, so that's why I'm pulling you over. So then he starts asking him questions. He starts saying, "Well, where are you coming from?" "No, I'm coming from Hershey. I'm traveling to Hershey, Pennsylvania. I'm coming from Parsippany, New Jersey, and I'm driving up there. And oh yeah, how long is that? Well, how long of a drive? 160 miles." He knew exactly the miles. He had perfect answers for every question the guy gave him, that the trooper gave him. I mean, it was just perfect. He was like, and he was so cool as a cucumber. He's like, "Oh yeah, you think I swerved?" He's like, "Maybe I did. I don't know. It's maybe I did. I don't know. I don't know what. Maybe that did. It's fine. I'll answer whatever questions you. Have you had anything to drink? Oh no, I don't drink. I never drink. I maintain, the temple of my body. It's very important to me, my good health. I don't drink. I don't smoke. It's something that you want to know good health. Working out is very important. So he was what we call a smoothie. All right. He had every answer. He was very friendly. He was very gregarious. He was very positive individual, and it was just amazing. And the trooper was looking into the interior of the car. The car was immaculate. There was nothing there except his suitcase. That was it. And he said, and the guy was like, "Okay, I'm just I'm on business. I'm a businessman. And my business is I'm in sports equipment, And that's what I work on, because it goes in with my fitness regimen, and it's very good. And so then he finished running his license and his tags for any warrants or that the car was proper and all that. And he was just he didn't find anything. He didn't find anything, and it didn't fit. It didn't fit with him seeing the guy say, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
It didn't fit because there had to be a reason why that voice came from him. It came from the young black man. It came from him. It wasn't from his higher self or something like that. So he knew that voice came from him and that he said those words because he was concerned. So then finally, he's just exhausted. He's got nothing else he can try to rattle this young man with. He couldn't do anything to develop probable cause. And then the young man is just he's bringing his license back to him, and that would be the end of the encounter. And he's saying, "Okay, I'll give you your license back, and I think we're done. We're good." And the young man just says to him, "Well, I just love the work that you guys do, and you guys are awesome. You guys are awesome, and the work that you do out here on these highways, that's really difficult work. I mean, if ever there's anything I could do to help you guys, you let me know." And then he reached for his license, and the trooper pulled his license back and said, "You know what? Now that you said that," he says, "it would really help me out if you could just let me do a real quick search of the vehicle. Just because you just said you would like to help me out. Well, with my bosses, it's kind of a checklist type thing, where if I can just do, a certain number of searches on vehicles, it just helps me out, with my quotas and things like that. Right. So if you really want to help me out, that would be the way you could do it." And he put his license in his pocket, in his own pocket, waiting for his response. And the young man, Smoothie's demeanor completely changed. He was no longer smooth. He was putting his hands on the wheel. He was kind of had his foot on the gas pedal for a little bit harder than he should have. And he looked like a young man that was calculating the idea of just taking off.
Yeah.
And then he took a breath and his shoulders dropped. In law enforcement, when the shoulders drop, even if they drop just a centimeter, it's a universal signal that the person has given up.
Oh, wow.
He's given up keeping the truth from you, whatever. And his shoulders dropped and he just said, "Well, okay, I'll let you search the vehicle and I'll pop the trunk, but I want you to know this really isn't my vehicle. I mean, I borrowed it, and anything that's in there, okay, pop the trunk. It was the single greatest seizure of pounds of cocaine ever by a single officer working by himself in the history of New Jersey. It was amazing. It was an amazing poundage of cocaine that was wrapped up very neatly in that trunk.
Wow.
And that is the story of the Smoothie.
He oversold it.
Just by a little bit. Just by a little bit. If he just hadn't pushed that tiny little bit at the end, he could have driven off.
Oh, man. Well, things happen for a reason. Well, listen, John, this time we actually do need to sign off because I myself need to go to the bathroom and I can hear the dogs in the background. So,
Team Muffin.
Yes, that's right. Team Muffin, and there's also Team Chi-Chi. Whoever you want to be, put it in the chat, #Muffin or #Team Chi-Chi. Let us know. So, John, tell everybody where they can go to find you and what you have coming up in the future.
Yes, everyone, please check out my website for events at johnthamabooks.com and buy directly from the author, 20% off of books using code FBI, of course. And also on my website, you would see events such as I have all my conferences have been turned into webinars because of the COVID-19 crisis. So I have Portal to Ascension coming up. I'm doing that with, and that's an online webinar. I'm doing that with Laura Eisenhower, the great Laura Eisenhower, with the brilliant Dr. Michael Sala and Neil Gower. That's June 27th, 10:30 a.m. To 6 p.m. It's the all-day seminar. And you go to portaltoascension.org for tickets. Tickets are $55. Then also, I have a Portal to Ascension webinar also on August 1st, 2020, and that is by myself. It is Truth Investigator Workshop. Truth Investigator Workshop. I'm doing a certification course. I'm developing a certification course for Truth Investigators.
That's awesome.
And it's also titled Case Investigations and Uncovering Cabal Deception.
Ooh.
And that's going to be my own seminar from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific time. And that's $33. So like I said, those are my events. Those are the most recent, the most upcoming events. And that's coming up. So please check my website for events. Also check my Twitter, John X DeSouza, Twitter, Facebook, John X DeSouza as well. And but Google tells me everybody just Googles me, and Google has a nice thing set up for me that shows all my books, all my social media links, everything. So it's pretty cool. It's better than Wiki.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, listen, you mentioned Dr. Michael Sala. He's actually going to be on the show tomorrow. We're going to be talking about Antarctica. So this is a show that people have been asking me to do for quite some time. So if you guys are here and available.
Brilliant researcher. Also, please ask him about the nuclear missile over Hawaii.
Oh, I certainly will.
And what really happened there, because the people of Hawaii were almost incinerated.
Oh, wow.
And that really happened.
Yeah.
And you gotta ask him about that. That's
excellent. Well, you guys keep me on task tomorrow for that. If I forget to ask him, then just remind me in the chat. Thank you to everybody who was here tonight. I'm so glad that we were able to do this extended edition with you, John. I really appreciate it. And I am looking forward to the next time that you come back on the show. All right, everyone. Thank you,
Zach.
John.
Great stuff. Thanks to your audience. They're great. They are awesome.
Thank you so much. Yes, they are. They are the best audience as far as I'm concerned. All right, everyone. Good luck and God bless. We will see you tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern for Dr. Michael Sala, and we'll talk to you soon.